The corridors of the interstellar hospital were silent, lit by soft bioluminescent panels that traced the edges of the walls like veins in a living organism. Dr. Elias' heart moved quickly, the weight of the emergency pressing on his shoulders. He had seen countless beings from every corner of the galaxy, but nothing in his years of medicine had prepared him for what awaited him in the ICU bay labeled critical xenopathic. It was an alien known as Lyra, a species called a Sereni. Her body shimmered with iridescent hues that shifted with every breath. She was unlike anything human medicine had ever encountered. Her physiology was delicate, almost translucent, and yet powerful, a marvel of natural evolution. The hospital's AI systems monitored her vitals constantly, but they were failing to stabilize her. Elias paused outside the room, taking a deep breath. He was the only human doctor on the station, a relic of an older era when humans had pioneered deep space exploration. Most medical interventions now were handled by advanced AI and xenobiologists trained in synthetic life sciences. But Lyra's condition was different. The AI had already sent a distress signal to the Central Xenopathic Council. Only a human doctor can intervene. Elias didn't know why. He didn't know how, but he felt an instinctive pull, a responsibility that transcended logic. He stepped into the room. Lyra lay on a levitating bed, her body suspended slightly above the surface, restrained only by soft energy fields. Her wound was unlike anything Elias had studied, an interdimensional tear in her tissue, a shimmering rupture that seemed to pulse with its own energy. Conventional medicine had failed. Nanobots, regenerative gels, and even advanced serums had done nothing. "She's deteriorating fast," said the nurse, a four-armed Zephyrian named Kiri. "The council has authorized you to act, but I've never seen a human procedure work on a Sereni before." Elias knelt beside Lyra, studying the wound. He could see faint echoes of consciousness flicker through it, as if the injury was alive in itself. The AI systems had suggested energy stabilization or quantum tissue grafts, but all of them were failing. The human approach, the tactile, intuitive, improvisational methods that machines could never replicate, was the last option. "Trust me," Elias murmured, more to himself than anyone else. He opened a small kit, one that seemed almost archaic in the ultramodern room. Scalpels, tweezers, and human surgical tools sterilized with plasma heat. He began the procedure, guided by instinct, memory, and a deep sense of empathy that no algorithm could replicate. He touched the wound carefully, and for a moment, the pulsing stilled, as if Lyra recognized the difference in his hands. "This is impossible," Kiri whispered. "The wound it's responding." Elias didn't answer. He focused on the smallest details, the alignment of her bioenergy lines, the resonance of her interstitial fluids, the subtle vibrations that indicated her pain. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had no meaning in the quiet intensity of life-and-death surgery. As he worked, Lyra's form began to shimmer more vividly, almost as if her consciousness was flowing into his hands, trusting him in a way that transcended species. Elias felt it, a connection, intimate and fragile. He realized that healing her wasn't just about physiology, it was about understanding the very essence of her being. The wound resisted, fought, even pulsed with a strange, alien awareness. Elias's hands moved faster, guided by intuition. He spoke softly, reciting human meditative phrases that somehow resonated with the Sereni's own neural rhythms. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the energy field around Lyra. Finally, with a gentle twist and a whisper, the tear sealed. The luminescent tissue flowed together like liquid light knitting itself into a solid form. Lyra's body stilled. The monitors stabilized. Her eyes, a deep violet that shimmered like a nebula, fluttered open. "You healed me," she said, her voice a musical vibration that resonated in Elias's chest. No one else could, only a human. Elias nodded, exhausted but triumphant. "It seems so," he said softly. "You're safe now." Over the next few days, Elias remained by her side, monitoring her recovery. He learned about her culture, about the Serenai way of viewing life as a complex tapestry of energies and consciousness. She, in turn, learned about human resilience and intuition, the ability to act when rules failed and logic fell short. But the incident drew attention. The Central Xenopathic Council convened an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of species argued over what this meant for interspecies medicine. Could humans be the key to treating certain conditions the machines could not? Some feared it, citing humans' unpredictable nature. Others saw opportunity. Elias listened quietly as the debate raged. He didn't care about politics or species pride. He only knew one thing: a life had been saved, and the method was simple yet profound. Human empathy, combined with skill. Lyra's recovery was remarkable. Within a week, she was walking the corridors of the station, her presence radiant. But she carried a quiet burden. The wound had not been merely physical, it had been existential. There were threads of her consciousness that had nearly unraveled, and only a human's touch had kept them intact. One evening, as the twin suns of the nearby system set in a cascade of gold and violet light, Lyra visited Elias. "You know," she said, her voice soft, "I should be able to heal myself now. My people have technology that could fix any injury, but I can't replicate what you did." Elias smiled faintly. "You didn't need replication. You needed understanding, intuition, and perhaps a little trust." Lyra's gaze lingered on him, a swirl of curiosity, gratitude, and something more, something human, even if she couldn't define it. "Your species, humans, you touch more than flesh," she said. "You touch essence. That is why only you could heal me." The words weighed on Elias. He had never thought of medicine in those terms. Yet in that moment, he understood that healing was not only technical skill but a bond, an unspoken dialogue between life and life, between species, between consciousnesses. In the following weeks, the story of the human doctor spread across the galaxy. Many xenobiologists came to observe, hoping to understand the techniques Elias had used. But the truth was that it wasn't a procedure to be copied. It was an act of presence, of awareness, of empathy that no algorithm could quantify. One day, Lyra approached him with a small device, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. "This is a gift," she said, "for saving me. It is a bond. If ever you are in need, it will guide someone to you. Consider it a gesture of trust." Elias took it, feeling its warmth, a pulse that seemed to echo the heartbeat of a species, not his own. He understood then that trust itself was a form of healing, something beyond medicine, beyond science, beyond even life itself. Months later, when the station faced a crisis of a different sort, a viral outbreak threatening multiple species, Elias found himself called once again. This time, it wasn't a Serenai patient. It was a human child, infected with a pathogen resistant to AI treatment. And yet, the memory of Lyra's wound and the trust she had placed in him guided his hands. He realized that humans were rare not because of physical skill, but because of the capacity for intuitive care, for empathy that bridged worlds. And though the galaxy had countless wonders, it was human presence that could sometimes tip the scales between life and death. Elias walked the corridors of the hospital one evening, the hum of energy fields a familiar comfort. He paused by the bay where Lyra had first arrived, now empty. He smiled to himself, knowing that somewhere out there, a life once fragile and broken was thriving, touched by the hands of a human who dared to act when machines could not. And he knew, deep down, that the universe had its secrets, and sometimes those secrets revealed themselves only to those willing to reach out, not with instruments, not with technology, but with the simplest, most profound of tools: humanity. Months passed since Elias had healed Lyra. The initial attention from the Central Xenopathic Council had subsided, but the story of the human doctor who could heal the unhealable persisted in whispered awe across the galaxy. Lyra had returned to her homeworld, but she remained in close contact with Elias through subspace communications, often sharing insights into Serenai culture, science, and art. One evening, a holographic message flickered in Elias's quarters. It was Lyra. Her luminous eyes seemed more vivid than ever, her body shimmering like a living constellation. "Elias," she said, her voice soft yet commanding, "I have returned not just as a patient, but as a witness. The Serenai Council has studied your methods, and they are unprecedented. They say that your ability to heal transcends technique. It is empathy, intuition, essence. We cannot teach it. We can only honor it." Elias leaned back, a mixture of pride and humility washing over him. "I did what anyone would do," he said quietly. "I cared." Lyra tilted her head, a delicate ripple passing over her form. "That is exactly why only a human could heal me. Because you cared enough to act when no one else could. Even the most advanced AI lacked the spark to recognize the wound as alive, to touch it not as tissue, but as being." Weeks later, an interstellar delegation came to the station. Scientists, doctors, and philosophers from dozens of species arrived to learn from Elias. They observed him performing surgeries, consulting with patients, and teaching humans and aliens alike that healing was not merely physical. It was an act of connection. The alien delegates marveled at the subtle ways in which he sensed the rhythm of life, adjusted his touch to the patient's awareness, and made split-second decisions guided by empathy. Yet amidst all the acclaim, Elias remained grounded. One quiet night, as the twin suns of the nearby system bathed the station in soft golden light, he walked through the empty corridors of the ICU. He paused by the bay where Lyra had first arrived, now vacant but still humming faintly with the energy of her past presence. A familiar pulse of light appeared on his wrist, the device Lyra had given him. It glowed gently, as if reminding him that trust, once given, never faded. And in that moment, he understood something profound. Life in the galaxy was fragile, unpredictable, and infinitely diverse, but connection was universal. Care, empathy, and courage were the forces that could truly heal, even when machines and science failed. The galaxy would continue to evolve. New species would emerge, new technologies would be invented, and new crises would arise. But humans, Elias realized, carried a rare power. Not strength, not intellect, not technology, but presence. The willingness to act, to feel, to touch essence. That was their gift. Years later, when a new wave of xenopathologies threatened multiple colonies, Dr. Elias Hart was called again. Not because he was the fastest or the most technologically advanced, but because he was human. And he alone could navigate the delicate balance between science and empathy. He arrived at the new emergency bay and, without hesitation, placed his hands on the first patient, a young Serenai child with a fracturing energy field. The child's pulses quivered with instability, the same way Lyra's had. Elias smiled faintly, his heart steady. He understood now that fear and uncertainty were part of the work, but so was trust. As his hands moved with care, guided by intuition and empathy, a faint glow began to emerge from the wound. Elias felt it, the same quiet, profound resonance he had felt with Lyra years ago. Life was returning. Somewhere across the galaxy, Lyra's voice echoed in his memory. Only a human could heal me. And now, once more, that truth unfolded before him. Because sometimes in the vastness of space, the greatest technology was not AI, nor bioengineering, nor alien innovation. It was the human heart.